Yeah, yeah. I left there. My contract was up. I was just tired of going to New York. I was just tired of traveling. And my daughter was going to the University of Alabama at that time, and I was living in Florida. So I had a chance. I was just going to take off a year and do nothing. I just wanted to take off a year. I was tired after 30-some years. And WCW called me and made me an offer, so I took it. And the only reason I did was to be closer to my kid. That's all. Had nothing to do with WWF. I mean, WWF was here. WCW's.
Right.
I mean, if I playing T-ball to the Yankees, I mean, there was no comparison. It was a very poorly run company.
I guess, how were you initially approached by WCW?
I was home and I got called to do the Sunday night show. Eric Bischoff called me. I said, sure. So I came in. He gave me an offer. One price to do one show. And then when Jesse quit, I started doing Jesse's stuff, so he gave me a raise to do that. He gave me 3 raises. So I had no trouble with Eric. He wasn't the brightest guy when it comes to wrestling, but he gave me 3 raises, so he said, okay.
What were your initial thoughts of Eric Bischoff as a person and stuff?
Eric Bischoff was a used car salesman that just happened to be involved in wrestling.
How would you compare him and Vince? Or is there no comparison?
Walmart, Neiman Marcus. I mean, there's no comparison. There really isn't. First of all, whoever made the decision, whoever came up with the idea to beat Goldberg, that was bad.
Yeah.
But whoever okayed it, that was worse. Whether it's Eric's fault, whether it's Dr. Harvey Shover's, or whoever it was, that's what killed the wrestling business.
He was the next big thing. They didn't even realize it.
Mark McGuire is a good friend of mine, and Mark McGuire came to Atlanta, and he wanted to meet Goldberg. Mark likes to work out. So McGuire was at the ballpark.
Right.
Goldberg went over to meet him. McGuire ripped his shirt off and rubbed his bat on his chest and went out and hit 70 home runs. We had no one from our company there to film it. Vince would have had McGuire at Louisville picking out the wood and the bat.
Right.
He'd have had McGuire getting dressed. He'd have had Goldberg putting on a T-shirt, getting ready. Vince would have produced it. Walmart.
I think one of the big problems with WCW is there was no guy that came from a wrestling background.
There was no money. There was no money that came out of their pockets. Vince is a wrestling company that needs TV to survive. WCW was a wrestling company that just happened to have us on. Eric Bischoff's money was Turner's money. Ted didn't care. Vince's money is Vince's money. When I pay you for something, you better do it. They were giving guys money that you couldn't even believe. Guys that shouldn't have made 50 cents were making $500,000. Fans could see it. It didn't work. It was ridiculous. They never followed up an angle. They never did anything. They would do something and then let it lay. Never.
What were you thinking the night that everything went down between you and Brian Pillman at the Clash of Champions?
That was an accident. See, when you do TV, you can't look into the ring. You have to watch a monitor.
Right.
So I'm watching a monitor. I don't know Pillman. Never met him. He walked behind me and put my coat down around my shoulders, just playing.
Right.
But I had neck damage. And I thought it was a fan coming and grabbing me. So I yelled, what the?
Right.
But I didn't know it was Pillman. Wrestlers are dumb. They think, go mess with the announcers because they're on camera all the time. Don't they ever watch the show? We're only on camera maybe at the beginning, maybe at the end. WCW never put us on that much. They didn't know how. They were stupid. Let's open up as we're getting out of limos. Everybody gets out of a limo today. When you open up like that, you think, have I missed something? You got to start the show. You got to tell who the announcers are. What's coming up? What you're going to see. Make it exciting. That's how I feel. WCW just it was a television production that had nobody in charge that knew what they were doing. It was pitiful to watch. And Tony Schiavone was the worst. Because he didn't like the fans, he didn't like the wrestlers, and he wouldn't tell Mike Tenay and I anything about what was going on. His secret to life was knowledge is power. So he felt if he knew something, he was more powerful than us. Big deal, you know this guy's going over. Who cares? And sometimes they wouldn't tell us what was going on. They said, we want it to be like a shoot. Well, how would you react? So I told them, I said, I would say nothing. Because we've never seen one. It don't happen. It's entertainment business. They never could understand that. They could not understand that.
They also put you with Steve McMichael, I believe.
Steve McMichael was up for an Emmy Award when he was doing... Anybody can be up for an Emmy Award. They pick like 30 people, but only like 4 go for it. But he was at a different level when he was doing the television, radio for the Chicago Bears. And he was a Super Bowl champion, all that. And Eric Bischoff just fell in love with the guy because of who he was. But Bobby Heenan cannot do hockey. I can't even say the names. Look at the eye charts. I can't do football. I can only do wrestling. McMichaels can do football. He can't do wrestling. Some guys just can't do certain things. Madden can't do wrestling. But they liked him. They wanted a younger and more MTV look. So that's why they took me off and put Madden on. That's a good look.
Coach Steve.
Yes.
Getting back to WCW, how were you treated in WCW?
Oh, no respect. I have an idea. When Cactus Jack was there with Mankind or Man Pain or whatever his name was.
Max Payne.
Yeah, they were wrestling the Nasty Boys or something. So I suggested, I said, why don't you have Gene open it up? And you always hear sirens and red lights flashing his face. And he says, you're not going to believe where I'm at. And just pull back. And he's in an ambulance going to the ring. And Bischoff said, Bobby, you're just an announcer. We'll come up with those ideas. And then that's when I figured it out. Every 2 weeks, cash your check, go home. I lost all desire to work, didn't care anymore or anything. They wouldn't even tell us to finish it sometimes. Sometimes we wouldn't even get a program of what was going on in the show until like the third match. Everyone that was there, except for a few people, shouldn't have been there. They weren't qualified to be in television or to do anything to do in wrestling. They weren't any good. Simple. If all you people watch this now are going to say I'm a jerk, are we in business? Is WCW in business? Why? Because they couldn't do it. They didn't know how to compete with Vince McMahon.
If you were in charge of WCW, what would you have done differently?
I'd have put everybody in one room and roll a hand grenade in there. What I would have done is I would have let it go as it was. I would have never bitched at the talent or the television people. You know why? Because they're going to do what they want to do anyway. This way, everybody would say, what's Heenan like? He never complains, so I still get my check every 2 weeks. That's all I care about now. I used to care about the business, how it ran, and what was going on, and how good we looked, and respect for what I did. You get down there, when your money's not involved and they don't have any money, they don't care. So I don't care. Pay me, I'll go home. Just it.
Do you have any memories that stick out with WCW? Anything that was,
That'd be like asking George Brett when he had that hemorrhoid operation. He remembered that.
Right. Let's see. I was going to ask you, was it hard to work there due to lack of organization? And obviously,
yeah, it was, because I like to work. I really like to entertain. I like to make people laugh. Some people think, well, my style of commentating isn't a whole hard sell heel. Well, first of all, not everybody believes what we do is real. Sometimes you've been in a fight in a bar and you threw a guy in the corner.
Right.
No, it don't happen. And I believe that not everybody believes it's real, so you have to entertain them and make them happy and have a good time. That's what I do. If you don't like it, fine. A lot of guys would tell me sometimes, not a lot of guys, Brian Adams one time told me, he says, we're trying to get over now. We're really serious out there. I thought I was saying, well, then maybe you should lay him in. Not make it look like you couldn't break an egg. So, You can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Right. Were you ever asked to return to managing in WCW?
Mm-hmm.
You just didn't want to do it?
No.
Who did they want to put you with?
They didn't say, but they didn't know how to use wrestlers. They weren't going to use me. Plus my neck. I didn't want to bother with that anymore.
Right. How did things change when Scott Hall and Kevin Nash came into the company?
Business improved. Business was real good. I think Scott Hall was a heck of a talent. I think he had some bad advice for some bad people he hung with. But Scott Hall could still be a big player now with WWF, used the right way. He's not a bad guy. He just gets bad advice from some bad people.
Right.
And Nash was just a big guy, nothing special. But Hall had charisma. He had.
Right.
When he did the toothpick thing. He didn't like doing that. I told him, I said, just keep doing it. Throw it right towards the camera. He used to do it like that. I said, no, do it like that. He said, well, does it look? I said, don't worry about it. He had no confidence. Then finally he got confidence. Scott Hall he'd be a heck of a talent. But he has to be produced and controlled.
Speaking of you giving advice to guys, did any of the younger guys ever approach you with ideas or trying to seek advice from you?
Yeah, some guys would always ask me. I always try to help anybody. But I told them, I said, this may work for me, may not work for you. And I just told them the logic of it. Whenever you're involved in a match or managing or on air or whatever you're doing, pretend you're doing it for real. And it'll work. I mean, I managed it. I pretended I owned them. I had an investment. When I was in that ring, this guy was going to kick my butt. And what would I do? What would I do if you came after me with a board? Would I shake hands? I'd beg, please don't. I'd pull a ref in front of me. I would do everything imaginable to save my hide.
Right.
It's simple.
Is there any guys that you could say that you were definitely responsible for as far as getting them over?
Oh, I don't want to take credit for that. I believe whoever got over because they did. With their own talent. If I had something to do with it, then we both did. I didn't get over by myself. I got over with managing people. So, the team of the Valiants, they were useless. They needed me. They were really useless. They couldn't talk or walk. They could talk, but at the wrong times.
Right.
And I'll never say the right things. And they would do the same stupid things in the ring all the time. They were like your honeymoon. The next night's not that good. First time you see him was okay, but
right. Now in '96, when WCW started to change things around and the business went up, how did Eric Bischoff change behind the scenes, personality-wise?
That's hard to say because he never had any confrontation with anybody. He never talked to anybody. No one there ever said when you were done with a broadcast, "Good," or "That stunk." No one ever said nothing to you. You never knew anything, what was going on. Bischoff acted like he was above everyone else, and he had no time to talk to anybody else. Well, I'd been there since Lou Thesz and seen Vince McMahon's and the people that were important, and it didn't impress me, so I just ignored it. Every 2 weeks, cash a check.
When business started to go down, did anything change, or the same?
Oh, no. When business was good, things were the same. No one was nice to you. No one did anything. We were just lucky we had 83 weeks at #1. We were just lucky. And you know why we were lucky? Because, remember Vince put on those vignettes about Hogan being old and savage?
Yeah.
All that did was make people tune in and see what we were doing.
Right.
That's what helped us and Goldberg. And then they killed everything. So, they weren't smart people.
What would you have done with Bill Goldberg?
I would have had him go 3,000-0. First of all, he's Jewish. Most of the people in marketing and in television are Jewish people. They've never had a champion. They would run with this guy. They would love him. And I'm not being racist or anything,
right.
But a Polish guy get over in Warsaw. If he Kowalski get over there if he was in Poland.
Right.
But, I mean, this would have worked. They've never had a guy like this. Plus, he played pro ball. Plus, he was raw. He didn't know how to work. But what he did was good enough. And he had that look that you could build around. And whoever decided to beat him and okayed it destroyed over 200 jobs of people at WCW. People that you don't even know that lost jobs. because somebody was playing with the business. They didn't really know. And they didn't really beat Goldberg to help Goldberg or to help the business. They did it selfishly to hurt Goldberg and to hurt everybody.
He was definitely the future of the business.
Oh, of course. Of course. I would have had him go 2000. Marciano did. Big deal. But that would have been something to talk about. And you need something to talk about. That was unique.
It was. At any time, did you ever have talks with ECW at all?
No, never did.
And did you ever consider returning to WF?
Yeah. I called Vince when I was done at WCW and told him I was available. And he said, I'll get back to you. And he used me at WrestleMania.
Right.
And that was fun. That was great. It was like being back in Hollywood after being on the, in a carnival.
Right.
It really was. Everybody was polite and thankful, and people said "sir," and the production was run well, and it was good. It was really good. I got to see a bunch of old friends and stuff, and it was fun.
Do you think you'll go back?
If the money was right and the timing was right. I don't want to work every day anymore. I don't want to. I got my book coming out. I want to do that. I want to do personal appearances. I want to do commercials. I want to be a spokesperson for a company or something. Wrestling, I don't know if I want to do. I don't think there is going to be wrestling anymore. I really don't see it because people aren't going to buy tickets when they know what's going to happen. That's my thinking.
You think the business is going to go down on cover?
Yeah. Plus, I think you need an opposition to make yourself fight harder.
Right.
And I think Vince, even though he owns WCW, is still the same. And I mean, I hope the family does good with it, but I really see it's going to be a trouble. There's no interest there anymore. To me, there's no interest.
Now, I guess when you were replaced by Mark Madden, how did you find out?
I worked at WCW for 6 years. I missed 2 days. One was my mother-in-law died, and I had to go to the funeral. The other one was I had strep throat, and I called Tony. And I said, I can't talk. And I guess Terry Taylor, everybody went nuts trying to find Madden. And when I came back the next week, then that, what was his name?
Mark Madden?
No, the other guy that was supposed to be a writer.
Oh, the JR guy who worked with Vince Russo.
Russo.
Ed Priera.
Oh, Ed was okay, but the other guy was...
Vince Russo? Right.
Oh, he was just a three-corner guy trying to switch the P underneath the shell on the corner. That's all he was. Three-card Monty. Had no idea for the business. I mean, he thought everything in the business he wanted to change, and he could prove it would draw money. He was a writer for Vince. Believe me. If he came up with 20 good ideas, Vince used one and changed it to what he wanted.
Right.
How did you do with WCW? Nothing.
It was horrible.
Horrible. He was a disgrace.
It wasn't even wrestling when he took over.
Pardon?
The TV wasn't even wrestling anymore.
No.
It was all skits. It was horrible.
No. It wasn't good. And he thought he could do it, and he couldn't.
I already asked you about Tony Schiavone. We brought him up. I was going to ask you about your favorite and least favorite announcers you work with. My favorite was Monson. Right.
And Oakland. And Mike Tenay.
How's Mean Gene to work with? How's he doing?
Good. Yeah. He's good to work with. He's funny. You know, you can always get a laugh with a guy with a bald hair and a mustache and 5'3".
How did you find out that the WF was buying WCW?
Somebody called me and told me. I knew it was going to happen. I knew somebody was going to buy it because it was going no place. There was no management there or nothing. And I figured if Vince bought it, the only reason he'd buy it was just to own the tapes.
Right.
There's no other reason. Now they're using the underneath guys. It don't work. I'm sorry, I don't think it works. That keeps me from getting a job at WWF. Tough. That's the way I feel.
How were you treated by the boys when you came back?
Oh, they were great. Oh, yeah. I never met the Dudleys.
Right.
They were good guys. I had fun with them. They were good guys. I liked them. And, Eddie Guerrero's an old friend of mine, and Malenko, and the Iron Sheik. He's just a typical fool. And Nikolai Volkov and I, and we're talking at Hillbilly Jim. And, we had a best time. It was fun. It was like somebody pulls a stake out of your heart and you come alive again.
I was going to ask you, you kind of touched on it. Did you see that as a return, as a farewell, or a return?
I looked at it as an opportunity. Whether he's going to hire me or not is up to him.
Right.
Whether I want to work the schedule he wants is up to me. I really don't need the money. I just have to get out of the house because I'm thinking of my wife now as Nicole Simpson. I mean, you just can't be. I've been on the road for 40 years. Now I'm home. I just want to get and do something.
Especially going back to WCW, what was your feeling like towards new style wrestling, like Lucha Libre and the Japanese and the garbage wrestling?
That was okay once in a while. I mean, I thought for the Mexicans, what you should do is they brought in 12 guys a night. You should bring in 2 guys and bring in 12 hoods. They all look the same, just switch them.
Right.
Let them do interviews so no one's going to ever know who they are anyway. How many times can you hit a fat guy with a garbage can that don't hurt? How many times can you beat a guitar over a guy's head and nobody's hospitalized? I mean, there's some things they did that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was always brought up, when you hit a guy with something, do something,
he's out.
make it mean it.
Right.
Yeah. Or don't do it. But
who do you feel is who's the main person for the downfall of WCW, if you had to single out one person?
It has to be whoever was in charge, and it has to be Bischoff or Dr. Harvey Sheller. Whoever said, okay, we'll do that. We'll beat Goldberg. We'll give this guy $8 million to do nothing. We'll pay these guys $500,000 for 10 years to stay home. Whoever made those decisions did it.
Do you think that was Bischoff's decision?
I don't know.
No.
I do not know. It wasn't his money. It was Turner's money. I don't think Ted knew where his money was. It was AOL's money. It was Time Warner. Who knew? It was hard to tell.
What were the politics like backstage at WCW with
there wasn't.
And Hogan? Faction?
Well, you see, I was in the announcer's room. They were always in their room with signs on the door. Do not enter. And they had Donis Dillinger at the door watching it, so no one would... You know what he did as a cop?
What's that?
He was a cop.
Yeah. You
know what he did?
No.
He drove the motorcycle at the funerals. What a danger there. They're dead.
Yeah.
And they're crying. And there's flowers. Right. No problem. He drove the motorcycle at funerals. No security. How many times do you see guys jump in the ring? But we had signs on the doors, do not enter. So I don't know what went on in Hogan's room or anybody's room like that. I know from Hogan what I know. Hogan always tried to do the most he can for himself and the boys in the business. There's a lot of jealousy there. So whatever went on in that room, I don't know about. And no one would tell us, no one wanted to talk about it, and no one cared. It was to that point. At our level, no one even cared what was going on. We just wanted to get done